the insane new economy where startups clean your house for free to train robots. The free catch. Imagine this. You live in a cramped, messy apartment in New York City. You're busy, you're stressed, and your place looks like a bomb went off. Then, you see an ad online. A new startup promises to send professional cleaners to your apartment to deep clean the entire place, top to bottom. The price? Exactly $0. It's completely free. There is only one catch. The cleaner who walks through your door isn't just carrying a mop and a bucket. They are wearing a bizarre, futuristic-looking hat rigged with high-definition cameras, depth sensors, and spatial tracking gear. Every single movement they make, every time they scrub a countertop, pick up a stray sock, or open a cabinet, is being recorded, uploaded, and fed directly into an artificial intelligence cluster. Within days of this service launching, the waitlist exploded into the thousands. People were practically begging to let camera-strapped strangers into their private living spaces, and it reveals a massive, multi-billion-dollar secret about the current state of AI. Right now, everyone is looking at tech giants like OpenAI, Google, and Meta, assuming the most valuable companies of the future will be the ones building the biggest AI brains. But they are looking in the wrong place. The real war isn't over AI models anymore. The real war is over physical reality. And the next trillion-dollar tech giant might not be an AI lab at all. It might be a data refinery that cleans your apartment. Super dumb. The problem, the embodiment bottleneck. To understand why a company would spend thousands of dollars on free labor just to watch someone clean a toilet, we have to look at the massive wall that artificial intelligence just hit. For the last few years, we've been living in the generative era. We built LLMs, large language models, like ChatGPT or Claude. These models are incredibly smart because they were trained on the internet. They read billions of pages of text, scanned Wikipedia, scraped Reddit, and looked at open source code. They had a nearly infinite supply of digital data to suck up. But now the tech industry is trying to move into the next phase, embodied AI. We don't just want chatbots that can write poems or generate Python code. We want physical robots that can do your laundry, fold your clothes, cook your dinner, stack warehouse shelves, and take care of the elderly. And here is the terrifying, dirty secret of the robotics industry. The models are ready, the hardware is ready, but the data does not exist. Think about it. You can't scrape the physical world from the internet. You can't download a zip file of what it feels like to squeeze a ripe tomato without crushing it. You can't Google the exact micro-millisecond adjustments a human wrist makes to scrub grease off a frying pan. The robotics industry has officially hit what engineers call the embodiment bottleneck. Compute is getting cheaper by the day. Neural network architectures are incredibly sophisticated. We have highly capable humanoid robot hardware sitting in labs right now, but they are completely brain-dead because they don't have real-world data. The strategy: shift and the cost of reality. This brings us to a startup called Shift, which recently launched this exact model in New York City. On the surface, Shift looks like a quirky consumer cleaning service, but if you look under the hood, it's actually a highly sophisticated, machine learning, data mining operation. See, if you're a traditional robotics company and you want to teach a robot how to clean a kitchen, you usually have to do it in a lab. You build a fake kitchen. You hire a data collection specialist. You put sensors on them, and you have them clean the same pristine, artificial countertop 500 times. That is mind-numbingly expensive. It's slow, and worst of all, it results in clean data. Why is clean data bad? Because the real world is chaotic. Your apartment doesn't look like a sterile robotics lab. You have weird lighting. You have a pile of mail on the counter. You have a dog that sheds. You have a weirdly loose cabinet handle. If a robot only trains in a perfect lab, the second you put it in a real apartment, it panics and crashes. So, Shift realized something brilliant. Instead of building expensive labs, why not use the real world? And, instead of paying workers explicitly to generate data, why not subsidize a service that people actually desperately want? The Shift business model swap. Old way, pay 100 HR to a lab tech plus build a 50K fake kitchen. Bad data. New way, give a consumer a free $100 cleaning. Infinite, messy, real-world data. In business terms, that free cleaning isn't a gift, it's their customer acquisition cost. Shift isn't selling a cleaning service, they're buying the physical rights to your apartment's layout, object locations, and human motion patterns. And compared to building a tech lab, this is incredibly cheap and infinitely scalable. The deeper tech, why this isn't just YouTube videos.
Wait, why do we need people to wear camera hats? Can't we just train robots by downloading millions of hours of cooking shows and cleaning videos from YouTube?
It's a great question, but it highlights a massive misunderstanding of how robotics actually works. When you train a text model like GPT-4, you give it discrete tokens, words, but a robot demonstration isn't just a flat sequence of words or even flat video frames. A single useful robotic data packet is an incredibly dense, multimodal chunk of information. It requires egocentric video, seeing the world exactly from the human's eye level, not a cinematic camera angle. Temporal information, understanding how objects change over time. Spatial mapping, building a 3D understanding of the room's depth and geometry. Force and tactile feedback, knowing exactly how hard to press down on a surface based on how dirty it is. When a human cleans, their brain is constantly processing feedback loops. If the sponge slips, the wrist tightens. If the surface is sticky, the arm applies more downward torque. A YouTube video cannot capture that invisible physics data. You need a human in the loop, interacting with a real physical environment to capture that micro-level density. But even with this high-tech data, engineers run into a massive roadblock known as the retargeting problem. Think about it, a human hand has 5 fingers, an incredibly complex wrist joint, and a specific muscle structure. A humanoid robot or a robotic arm has completely different joints, different electric motors, different weight distribution, and totally different degrees of freedom. You can't just feed human movement into a robot and expect it to work. The AI has to take that egocentric human video and completely translate, or retarget, those movements into commands that a metal robot arm can actually execute. It's like trying to translate a poem from English to Mandarin, but instead of words, you're translating human bone structure into robotic actuators. It is one of the hardest engineering problems on Earth right now. The new labor market. The physical data economy. Because this data is so hard to get, we are quietly witnessing the birth of an entirely new global workforce. A few years ago, the early AI boom created a digital gig economy. Tech companies hired hundreds of thousands of people in developing countries to do data annotation, sitting at computers for hours, clicking on pictures of traffic lights, and labeling text to train autonomous cars and chatbots. But the embodiment bottleneck is shifting that labor market from the digital world straight into physical reality. Welcome to the physical data economy. Right now, all over the world, startups are paying people to do everyday tasks while strapped into motion capture rigs and VR headsets. We are seeing the rise of demonstration collectors, people whose entire job is to walk around houses or warehouses doing chores, purely to harvest the raw physical data. Teleoperation contractors, operators sitting in high-tech simulators, wearing VR goggles controlling a physical robot miles away to guide it through complex tasks whenever the robot gets stuck. Spatial annotators, people who don't label text, but label 3D space, mapping out force feedback profiles and weight estimations on raw video streams. Human labor is effectively being used to subsidize and bootstrap its own automated replacement. Every piece of data collected by a human cleaner today is a brick in the foundation of an autonomous robot tomorrow. This brings us to the ultimate question and the real historical precedent we are setting right now. For the last 20 years, internet consumers made a silent pact with big tech. We agreed to trade our digital privacy for convenience. We gave Google our search histories. We gave Meta our social graphs. And we gave TikTok our attention span and browsing habits. In exchange, we got free search, free maps, and endless entertainment. Now physical AI startups are asking us to make that exact same trade. But this time, they want to cross our doorsteps. They want the floor plans of our homes. They want to know the exact layout of your bedroom. They want to see what brands are sitting in your pantry, how messy your closet is, and what your daily domestic habits look like. Startups like Shift swear up and down that the footage is completely anonymized, faces are blurred, and personal data is scrubbed before it ever touches an AI model. And directionally, they have to do that to avoid massive lawsuits. But history tells us that convenience almost always wins over privacy. If you offer someone a free $150 deep cleaning service in exchange for letting an anonymous camera map their living room, Thousands of people will hit agree without reading a single line of the terms of service. The strongest version of this argument is simple. The foundation models of the future will eventually become commoditized. Anyone will be able to download a powerful open-source AI brain. The hardware, the metal, the motors, the batteries will become cheap and mass-produced. The companies that will rule the next era of technology are not the ones building the robots. It's the companies that build the proprietary, unscrapable pipelines to mine, refine, and monetize physical reality. So next time you see a deal that looks a little too good to be true, take a close look at the person's hat. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay ahead of where the physical tech world is actually going, without the marketing fluff, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments. Would you let a camera-strapped stranger clean your house for free? See you in the next one.